Can I say something?
Yeah.
Before, first of all, when we come up with this definitive pricing like my brother has done, we need to be very certain of these things. When we say landing price, for example, as a starting point, it's not a figure that they just wake up today, oh, that 4 naira no slice, and they come up to it. How do you arrive at landing price? How much is the cost of crude oil? Okay, so we produce crude oil. Then you transport it to a refinery. There's a cost there. Then they refine it. Then there's a cost.
You bring it back
and all that. And then they clear. And there are some other transportation figures. That's how landing costs are arrived at. We have an idea of what the cost of crude oil is. We may have an idea of what it costs to transport. We have an idea of what it costs. So these figures are not just things that come out of the moon. So when you say kerosene costs 34 naira per barrel for landing costs, I'll be interested to know where
there's an institution that handles those costs, PPPRA. They do that. It's on their website.
I know, but it's also a fact that it is still the same institutions that are being questioned and all that. The figures that are arrived at tend to be, let's go into the technicalities, but the fact is that there are issues that surround these figures arriving. The purpose of subsidy, not just petroleum subsidy or any subsidy, is basically to ensure that government lives up to its promise of the welfare of the people. There's subsidy in education. That's why universities pay relatively low in compared with the private universities, because government needs to subsidize it and make it available to people. There's subsidy in health. That's why public hospitals are the prices they are in comparison with private. There's subsidy in agriculture, as you find with fertilizer and all that. Those are things that are done normally to make life worthwhile. Now, when you come to subsidy in petroleum, and the origin of subsidy in petroleum has to do with the fact that at a point in time, all our needs were supported by the refineries that we had. And at a point in time, the refineries could not meet those needs. And the government, out of necessity, demanded that petrol be imported. And they felt that as an oil-producing country, as in virtually all the OPEC countries, we pay very low for petrol. It's same in UAE, same in Venezuela, same in Angola. And they found out that these prices were high, and government, owing to their duty and responsibility of not allowing things to just be under the forces of demand and supply, made sure that those prices, even though they were bought at a certain price, needed to be available to the people at the price they would normally have had it had the refineries been functional. And that is the origin of subsidy. Now, like in any other system, any other human system, there has been faults into that system. There has been corruption into the system, and nobody's going to deny that. But the question now is, throw the baby and the bathwater out. There's no problem. But when we do that, there are significant implications on both sides. The crude oil is a commodity, like cocoa, like coffee, which means it can be $50 today, it can be $150 tomorrow. What that means simply is that you could be buying petrol for 80 naira today, and then in 2 weeks' time, you're buying it for 200 naira. Now, you look at the implication on the livelihood of people and on businesses. Because when we demand certain things, it's always good to understand the long-term implications on people. But having said that, let's come to the report proper, which is where you were saying that certain people needed to be arrested, certain people needed to be, jailed. I like us Nigerians, sometimes I wonder whether it is justice we are after or vengeance. The law provides for justice, does not provide for vengeance. Sometimes something is wrong, we just need to hang somebody. Somebody must just be a scapegoat. And now, this is the fact, these are the issues there. You have said that, based on the understanding from the report, that there are issues of people not being access to certain books and all that. It's just like the Secret Service. The Secret Service is not secret because
Did you just compare the NNPC with the Secret Service?
I'm coming. Let me get to somewhere. The NNPC is 70+% of our economy. They are not just going to show everything to everybody. It just doesn't make sense. You
So
don't
then
just
why
allow
do
every
we have
visitor
the
into your
audit?
bedroom. Sorry, excuse me. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I mean, there's the Accountant General's office. You understand? You show things what you call on need-to-know basis. You don't just show everything. Now, let me say this. Why is the Secret Service secret? Why is the CIA secret? Why is the MI5 secret? Why is the DSS having certain things secret? Because there are certain things in the effective day-to-day running and functionality of governance that cannot be made known to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. They will be made known to people in the Senate. They will be made known to journalists on certain needs, but they cannot just be thrown open to everybody.
But we're
Society does not
talking about
function that way.
figures here.
I'm coming.
And
I mean,
if we don't have
if you
all
just
the
give me,
documents,
if you
we
give
cannot
me,
have the correct figures.
if you give me a leeway, I will just
really
arrive.
do not have time, so arrive quickly.
Okay, so now the point I'm making at the end is that if PwC says they don't have access to all the figures, that is normal. It's a different thing if they say they have requested for certain papers and they don't have access to it.
That was what they said. I mean, it's an audit. It's basic. An audit, you go in, you check the books, you check the account details, you check the invoices, you check the receipts, and you put it side by
So
side.
which accounts did they not have access to?
Have you read this report?
I believe I have.
If you have, you won't be asking these questions because I
they've
mean,
not
these
said-
things are in
they said
detail.
that they didn't have access to all the accounts. They have not said that they've requested for accounts and it was not made available to them.
Okay.
I mean,
There's
it's
a-
an extrapolation.
hold on.
We can interpret that, but that's not been said.
Excuse me. Within the period in review, January 2012 to July 2013.
Yes.
I mean, these are for an audit company that was invited to look at certain books
Exactly.
within this period. One would expect that the NNPC would have said, within this period, these are the books you need to look at. As in, lay them, just PwC have to come and say, give us this, give us that, before you give it to them, when there's a specified period they're supposed to be looking at.
Okay, for example, I don't expect NNPC to give them the report of how much they are paying their drivers during that period. It's not
Why?
relevant.
Well, it will be in salaries, won't it?
Why?
Yes.
Okay,
What they were looking at were issues that had to do with federation accounts.
No. They were looking at the differences between remittances and revenue, and the difference between remittance and revenue. If you read the report, you would also see that salaries were there. So there should be a breakdown of salaries.
Okay, let's see one of the statements or recommendations, or one of the findings of the PwC in that report was that the NNPC appeared to have an open check with which they ran, and in other words, they were given leeway to use money to
Spend as they decided.
Yeah.
to.
Well, I'm
No
not a
limits.
spokesperson for NNPC.
No,
first of all.
no. But
now,
there's a report now we're looking
Yes.
at. So what do you think gave PwC the basis for that kind of conclusion?
well, first of all, I'm not an auditor. I mean, I mean, let's put our caveat here. Neither am I here, to come and defend NNPC.
Is the report we're looking at?
Yes, I am. PwC has said that they got the impression that NNPC seems to have a blank check and all that. How they arrived at that, I don't know. That's an interpretation. It is a different thing if they said that NNPC made this payment without approval, and as a result, it gives the impression that NNPC could make payments on a blank check basis.
That was what it said.
It also said that accounting and monitoring systems for the oil revenue appear to, and I quote, they appear to be inaccurate and weak. And we're talking about the corporation that handles Nigeria's entire income, more or less.
Accounting processes that are used in government comes from the Office of the Accountant General. Now, if those processes are weak, it means the whole federal government civil service system is weak. So it's not peculiar to an NNPC thing. It probably means that Nigeria as a nation needs to look at its accounting procedures and accounting processes.
But Nigeria has always said that they needed to know more about the operations of NNPC, that everything appeared to be too opaque.
Well, as a point of process and as a point of fact, I still believe that it's not every single part of a government institution that just becomes available for even people who don't ask. Okay. It is a different thing when you ask and you are not given.
Let me, what, in your opinion, was that report good? Was it a good report?
It was a
representative of...
No, the report definitely was a step forward. It was definitely a step forward in terms of making progress.
Okay. Tunji, what's your problem with the report?
Everything. Everything, and the fact that, first of all, it was supposed to be an audit of that time period to be able to give us an understanding between revenue and remittances. And at the end of the day, we realized that we can't even tell if that was the total revenue. We can't even tell if those were the total remittances, because it's plain simple. If you have, I mean, I don't want to oversimplify this or make it simplistic, but if you're selling mugs, for instance, and you have 5 mugs in your store and you sell 3, I expect that you should have money for that 3. Now, if you say you took office expenses from the money you used for the 3 mugs, you should be able to explain to me, we bought light bulbs, we bought a new insecticide, we bought this, we bought that. So if you remove that from the money, this is what should remain. That is what the report should have told us. But at the end of the day, first time you realized, you felt it was 67 billion, then you came back and said, oh, we missed out 2 billion. There's 69 billion. Now, because
is that what happened? Because what I thought the report said was NNPC had said they had 67.
Yeah, and
but
they
what we
remitted
find out
47.
is actually 69.
No. The NNPC from the Auditor General said, okay, NNPC said you should come back. So in January 2015, they came back and they sat down again and they realized that there was additional remittances which they missed.
So it's possible that they gave them extra data.
They give them extra data. That's the problem. So it means that the first audit, they didn't have the complete data. So how are we sure the second audit was the complete data in itself? Okay. If you could miss out 2 billion. Now, let's put it down. That is 600 billion naira. Maybe if I'm saying 2 billion, it sounds very little. 600 billion dollars. $2 billion. That's $600 billion missing that you missed in an audit. I mean, come on.